Hello and welcome to another night shift. My name is Yazil, and today we want to continue our item system. Therefore, I'll log in with my 2 character to show you what's going on. So you can see we got a character here in the game, and we got some items down here, and we want to work on picking up these items. And if you see here the 7 on stacking, it's now 8, and of course we also pick up single items, and the single items search for the next empty spot and appear there. Also we want to have something like moving the items between the slots, and yeah, that's what we want to do in a moment. And therefore we have to finish or nearly finish our item plugin. So in this video we don't work with Unity much, we just work with the item plugin. So here we are in the item plugin. Last time I showed you 2 functions which I was working on, and there were a few errors in that, so we have to fix that. Basically the errors were in this query, so let's go over that. The function insert inventory item expects an inventory item, and then we go into the Darkroot database execute query, and we insert into table player inventory with these values the item itself to the database. So that's just an insert into. I had some errors here, and this is the fixed version. So we still have to work on the hashes, but for now we just do an execute query, insert into the table with the player ID, item ID, amount, backname, slot, and hash ID with the values player ID, item ID, amount, backname, slot, and hash ID, and we get them from the query parameters, which will be the values out of our item we get here. And after that, after the try, we going to catch the database exception if something goes wrong, and you can handle that whatever you like then. Also in the update function there was an error also here in the execute query. It's basically the same. We just update the item with the amount and the hash ID, and you do that where the slot is equal to add slot, and the player ID is at player ID, and the backname is at backname. So we can be sure that we have the exact item we want to update. Also we get the values out of the item we delivered into the function, and after that we catch that, and you can handle that whatever you want there. Good, that's the both function I made some errors in. That's the fixed versions. And then we want to handle some stuff here in the on-server message. We have 3 basically parts. It's the item remove, the item save, and the item read. And since we I'll show you that here. Since we deliver the item itself piece for piece and not as a whole, we don't need an item list function, an item function. We just use the item list if we want to have an item. That's easy going. And well, here in the item remove, So if we got the subject item remove, we just go in there. If we are in debug mode, we give something out, and then we're going to use the dark-rift reader, and it's equal to dark-rift reader data.data, and we make ourselves an item, and in the item we get the values out of the dark-rift reader. So we read an int, string, and an int. So you have to be sure that in your Unity you have the same order. After that, we try and do in database execute and delete from the table where the slot is equal to slot, and the player ID is equal to add player ID, and the backname is add backname. And we go here for the query parameters and get the values out of the item dot values, so slot, backname, and player ID. After that, we just catch the database exception and the item is done. What we can do is here we can send a message to the server where we say something like item is deleted or something like that. And well, that's all for the item remove. And then we have the item save. And in the item save, it's basically the same. We're going for the debug message. Sorry about that. And then we're using the dark-rift reader. And we go and make ourselves an item. And in the item, we get the values out of the data. And then we're going to try and going for a database row and select out of the table player inventory where the slot is equal to slot and player ID is player ID and backname is at backname, and we limit it to 1 and look if there is something. So the query is always the same. We get that from the item we generated here, and then we go if the rows is equal to 1, then we're gonna say or we found an item here, and if we found an item we update the inventory item. If the row length is 0, so it means we don't have an item at that slot position at that back with that player ID, we just create the item into the database. So we say insert inventory item and give the item here, and we store that in the database. After that, we going for a dark-rift writer and create a new writer and set the ID, the player ID, item ID, amount, bag, slot, and the hash ID, which is just hash ID here in a moment. Well, we just have to handle that sometime. And after that, we just say on the connection.send reply my item tag dot item read list and the writer, so we send to Unity the item itself. And after that, we just catch the database exception, and as always, you can handle that if you like. I just have a debug message here. So what happens, or the basically stuff we want to do is we want to say Unity, if we move something or do something with an item, we just delete that from the slot. And after that, we tell Unity to make us a new item or update the item. So that's all for the item plugin in the moment. We have every function we need for the rest of it. So I guess you compile that and bring that into the server and start a server new, so you are prepared to go for the next part. So in the next part we start a little bit with Unity, and I want to make an item we can drop into the scene. Later on there will be a manager and a plugin which is controlling the stuff, so everybody can see the same item. And Yeah, for now we just go and grab an item we want to display. So we go for the poison, and in the poisons I have it here. We grab that. There are all, and we want to have a prefab, and we just drag in a prefab here inside the mana poison, where it is, mana poison, and we drag that there and get rid of that and get the mana poison here. Let's move that a little bit on the side so we can see that. So there it is our item, and what we need there on our item is a rigid body, and we freeze position for rotation. And if you leave it that way, the player can push the item around, but if you just freeze the Z and X, it will be fixed also. And we need an collider, and we use a mesh collider. And in the mesh collider, you're going for convex, so we can interact with that. So after that, we need to have a script here for sitting on the item itself. Let's see, I made a script somewhere here. Script Yazil, and I made a script called pickup. Not under helpers, it's under ItemSystem pickup item. This one, we just drag that there. So you're gonna make a new script and call it whatever you want. I called it pickup item. You can whatever you want. So we're gonna edit that, and it's basically real easy. We have it under the namespace Yazil ItemSystem. We're just using a Unity engine, and it's public class pickup item, and comes from mono behavior. And we store some values of some information from the item for the item in there. The one is the item ID, which is the item ID we have here. So, and then I stored the back name here, which is of course not back name, it's back name. And as a default value, it's main inventory. And we got a little public function which we can call. It's pickup item, and in a moment we just going for debug.log where we got picked up and nothing else. So that means we have an item, and we have a little function, and we have some information from the item on the item itself. So we just drag that into our prefab folder. You see I made a couple more here. I made the mana poison. Let's put it on the right place. I made it here. I made the health yard, the mana poison, and the mana tube. And let's see, there is the script, and there are the values we have. And what we have to do now is, if this item is in the game, we have to able to identify it somehow. And for that, let's go to the scene. Where is my scene? I'm not concentrated at the moment, it looks like. Here in the start scene. Yeah, save that. Oh, okay, no problem. So in the scene we got our world, and there are our houses. So let's see. I got a couple items there. We just delete them, and we go and kick them here. So we drag our item we just made. It's under resources, and there's the item we just made. Is this one, and it's a little bit small. So we're going for 1, 1, 1, and let's see how big it is now. Still small. Let's go for a little bit bigger. It has to do with the item I used is imported really downscaled. It's not perfect to scale something, but that's all I have in a moment for demonstration. Let's see if I gotta make something or whatever. So we got an item here, and we got a mesh collider, and what we need now is a script where we can modify something. And here in the game manager, I made a script mouse controller, so add component script, new script, and of course you can name it whatever you want. I named it mouse controller, and in the mouse controller we're gonna raycast these items. So under game manager, a new script mouse controller. Let's go there, mouse controller. So it's the same. We're using the Yazil ItemSystem, and we're going for a public class mode controller, and it comes from mono behavior. We just need only Unity engine, nothing else. And we use the private void update. And in the update function, we just gonna check every frame if the input get button down, fire 1 is the left mouse button, is pressed, and if it's pressed we do something. And basically we draw a line from our camera, which is somewhere here, into the world, and we look if there is something we hit. And if we hit something, we're going to see what we do with that. So we're going to create a variable hit info, which is the raycast hit, which stores everything from the object we hit. So then we make a new ray, and we go from the camera main screen point to ray, and where we want to go into the input.mouse position. So we drag from the camera to the mouse position. And if physics.raycast, it's a function where we put in the array we generated here, and the output info hit info we generated on top here. In the distance here, so 500 is very far away. You can do something like 50 or whatever you like. Just experiment with the value. It's just the units how far away these ray will be going. So after that we know for sure we hit something, and if that's the case, we're gonna if hit info.collider.tag is equal to item. That means we check for the tag. The tag we didn't set that, so we're going for Unity again and look on our item here, and you see this item has no tag, so we're gonna hit that and add a tag and do whatever, and these tag will be on the item then. You go there and say item, and it's tagged, and we are looking for that tag on the renderer, on the collider. So save the prefab and then back to Unity. So if the hit.info.collider.tag is equal to item, which is we just said, we're going to say hit.info.collider.transform.getComponent pick up item. That's the script which is on our item. And in that, we're gonna call the function pick up item. So we're gonna pick up item, and pick up item says we got picked up. So that is the if we start that, that's the stuff we expect to happen. So let's save everything, and going back to our login screen, yeah, we saved that. And we start Unity. And after a sec, it should be. There it is, and somewhere is our item. Here it is. And if we hit that, nothing happened, but we got the message we got picked up. So you see the first step for recognizing something and pick something up is working. This style is, or this style of stuff you could do also for example for a script which sits on a door. If you click it, the door will open or whatever. It's basically the same. You're going to Raycast, going for the collider and check the collider what an item or what an object it is with the tag information, and you know what to do there. So that's it for the video now. The next part will be the picking up it in the inventory and vanishing it. Will be coming out soon. As always, if you liked it, hit the like button. If you liked it even more, just subscribe to my channel. I would more than happy to see my numbers growing. So, happy night shift.